Hello, everybody. Welcome to Casually Conducting. We'll be starting in about 4 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
And welcome back to another episode of Casually Conducting, where I'm here with my buddy Simon. And on today's topics, we're going to be talking about, I guess, most influential guitarists and the supernatural. We're going to cover it like out of body experiences, ghosts, spirits, what it's like to encounter conditions where you can find supernatural entities and dreams.
Fun little topic to talk about this week. I think we're going to have fun. Now, this music part, it's going to have to be one-sided a good little bit. I'm not fantastic at music, at musical artists and whatnot.
What you like and you don't like.
True. We'll see what happens. Oh, hello, everybody. It's me, Simon. And I'm the co-host for this week's episode. How's everybody doing? Let us know in the chat. We'll be listening joining in the conversations and whatnot. And yeah,
My top 3 guitarists, I would say, would probably be Sinister Gates, Derek Trucks, Dwayne Allman, and John Mayer. Derek Trucks and Dwayne Allman being in the same place.
what does that do? What
The-
makes them stick out?
The style of music that they did.
Yep.
They're both known more for their working slide guitar.
Right.
Honorable mention, Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai. It's just they both had their style from somebody else, basically.
Inspired.
No, they had their style. Like Eddie Van Halen was most known for tapping, where he air quote played the guitar like a piano.
Yeah.
Steve Vai was also known to do that.
Okay.
But tapping, neither of them had invented tapping. Everybody thinks Eddie Van Halen did. It's going to be Steve Hackett of Genesis. Also claims to be an inventor of tapping as early as 1971. Some players such as Stanley Jordan, Paul Gilbert, Buckethead, and Steve Vai were also notably skilled in the use of both hands and an almost piano-like attack on the fretboard. But I will say they may have perfected the art of tapping. I mean, everybody knows Eruption, Eddie Van Halen, where he goes on for like 2-3 minutes doing nothing but just tapping on the guitar.
Yeah.
But going back to probably the most influential ones, so I'm going to start off with Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. He is the lead guitarist and co-vocalist. Sinister Gates, he started off with gypsy jazz. And literally gypsy jazz, I don't really, it's basically like it's like the more, not simplified, but more uniform style of jazz.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you can even say that jazz is just an excuse to hit a bunch of wrong notes. But no, it was a unattainable art to some people. Well, after mastering this art, he went and used those same techniques to make the music that he does now.
Yeah.
He was very heavily influenced by country music, mainly because his father was an accomplished country guitar player. He found himself discouraged when the technique associated with the style didn't really appeal to him. He then turned his attention to gypsy jazz, specifically players like Django Reinhardt. He claims he learned to master the style because it seemed a highly unattainable art form, and he ended up finding the techniques and scales to be very useful for creating metal music.
Hybrid kind of?
No, he used the scales and techniques to play gypsy jazz and used it to create metal music.
Oh, okay. So he based. Okay, yeah. That's pretty cool.
And the fact of how technically proficient Sinister Gates is. Because you hear people say all the time, yeah, he's a great guitarist, but he puts no emotion into his songs.
Yeah.
To me, Sinister Gates puts so much emotion into the most simplistic of solos. Like, I would say Roman Sky, for example. It's a great example. Can't hear Simon much.
What about now? How about now? Am I coming in clear? It's probably because I'm not talking that much. It'll probably pick me up better the more I say something instead of saying, like, yeah.
Go to Derek Trucks and Dwayne Allman. To me, they're kind of very similar in their styles of playing slide guitar because they're both known for blues. And the only reason I would say that Derek Trucks was a better slide guitarist was because he lived longer than Dwayne Allman. And I mean, it's two separate timelines, but Dwayne died in a motorcycle accident in Macon. Had just left the show. But it takes skill and hours and mastery, or hours of mastery, to even play slide guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anybody can play slide guitar, but it's hard to make slide guitars sound good.
Well, that's just when you're taking the strings and just riding them, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
But see, if you had listened to like Derek Trucks play, you would think he was not playing slide guitar. That's how proficient he is playing slide guitar.
I barely play any guitar.
Yeah, you're the piano man.
I try my best, that's for sure. Only when it's needed, though. I'd love to get more into playing instruments, but I just don't have. I don't really put the time into it to do so. You know, I got better things I do with my time than play instruments. Not saying that.
Are you trying to say playing instruments is a waste of time?
Oh yeah, 100%. Can't stand it. No. I just never had the reason to play instruments. Like when I was in school, when we were in school, we were doing band. That was fun. That was freaking fun. I had reason to play it, and we were just jamming the frick out, you know, just chilling and all that jazz. Almost literally. It was so fun, and I wish I could do it again, you know. But I've got different focuses in my life that I got to work on, and music is not one of those.
On to John Mayer. If you don't know who John Mayer is, you've probably been living underneath a rock for the past couple of years.
No, I know who this is. I've heard this name a few times.
His tracks like Gravity, Neon, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room was one of my favorite songs by John Mayer.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
He's also very technically proficient. But John Mayer also went to school for music. Said it was taught by Tomo Fujita. Upon graduating high school, Mayer enrolled into the prestigious Berklee College of Music, where he further worked on his craft as a guitarist under Tomo Fujita. During this time, he also developed his unique songwriting by picking up tips and tricks from professors like Pat Pattinson.
One person can learn from so many people and adapt it into their own kind of style, you know, and it sticks out like a sore thumb sometimes in a good way,
Yeah.
you know, and it just leaves that part of your brain satisfied when you hear that one song that you like, you know, that one type of music you absolutely love.
And see, for me, it's like I try to surround myself with people that know more than me, so that way I can learn.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get stuck with one particular style of music playing. Like, for me, I'm a rhythm guy. I am not at all decent at playing lead. I mean, I try to break out of the box sometimes, you know, and do my own little thing, but it's more so I gotta, it's like Freddie Mercury, I want to break free.
Yeah.
You just gotta break out of that box.
You just got to push yourself past that point. I think honestly, once you get to that point where you start to go over the edge a little bit, not like crazy, but like with music and stuff, you get to a point where you like, and then it just clicks, and you'll do proficient in everything that you can't do right now, you know.
Another thing I've learned is the more you play, the more you actually pick up things. Like me, starting out, I couldn't hardly play worth nothing. I mean, obviously, I was just starting out. But further on down, I've, like, tuning, I get to the point where I can tell a guitar's out of tune and tune it right back. It's almost perfect.
Yeah.
And playing by ear is kind of like one of three things. You got it, you learn it, and then you got it, or you just absolutely cannot do it and you got to do it by the music.
Yeah. Playing by ear is a very, very strange talent. I can do it, and I can't really play guitar, but you've got to be able to do. I'll say three specific things to play by ear. One, you've got to be able to match pitches.
Right.
That's the primary thing. You have to be able to do that. Two, you've got to understand where your layout for your instrument is.
Right.
And you know what? Let's just go with two. That's really all you need. You just need to be able to harmonize pitches and know the layout of your instrument, and then you'll be able to do it by ear.
Like piano, I wish I would have started out playing piano because then playing guitar would have been 10 times easier.
I can testify. It does make a lot easier.
Because an octave on a keyboard is probably inches apart.
It's 7 notes apart, I believe. 7 white keys apart.
Meanwhile, you've got a solid foot and a half maybe between octaves on a guitar.
Yeah.
It makes it not as easy to
Use.
I guess, or not.
Period.
Well, yeah,
It's just a more difficult instrument.
it makes playing by ear a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. It's also really weirdly set up because let's say you've got a piano, okay?
Mhm.
Playing the guitar is like playing a piano with 6 rows of keys
Right.
right in front of each other. It's just weird, man. Especially if you're starting out with pianos.
I wish I could have started out playing piano.
Yeah.
If I'd have known I would have gotten into piano as much as I did, I probably would have kept the one that we had. Like the old sound of a upright piano.
That sounds phenomenal.
It does.
You can feel it. Feel that music.
But talking about the whole playing as like a group thing,
Yeah.
that's where I learned most.
Yes, same.
That's where I learn what I can do, what I can't do.
Well, that's because you're sitting around people that you enjoy doing stuff around most of the time, at
Right.
least. And things just kind of you see how other people do it. You can do it at kind of your own speed, and it's more of a you feel not pressured, but you feel an enjoyment in pushing yourself to learn more
Right.
with your friends.
Right.
You know, achievement,
It's like
accomplishment.
You want to know what they know.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you want to beat them.
Yeah.
You just want to do better. And that can push you to strive for even more success with your instrument, you know?
It's like for me hearing like the drums, bass, piano, me playing and singing, it just creates an environment that just you just feel right at home, kind of. Whether it's 2 people or 5, or even more for that matter, because I know people that do jam sessions there, and there's like 10, 20 people there.
Especially if you do stuff together with like a bigger group. That is so freaking fun, man.
It's like Rockin' 1000. You ever seen them?
No.
Imagine like a football stadium full of nothing but people that play instruments. And they all play one song or multiple songs.
I think I've seen something like that.
I wanted to audition for it, but it's so much money. And that's another thing is why people get so discouraged playing music. Money.
It's expensive to get a guitar.
It costs money to play music, I guess.
I mean, a piano? You can get a little cheap, dinky electric keyboard,
For like $100.
at least $100. That's on the cheapest side.
But I mean, maybe you pay for that. You also get a $100 keyboard.
Yeah, of course.
But then you go up into the high dollar ranges. You get weighted keys.
That can go all the way up to like $5,000. That crap's expensive. My keyboard downstairs is a 30. I think it's like a 54 key on the white keys, across keyboard, and it's $3,000. It's an expensive freaking keyboard, you know. Thank you, Santa, you know.
Right.
I played my heart out of that. I played it so much I couldn't play it anymore. I got so tired of it.
And see, like whenever I was in band, I would always want to try different instruments, and I played so many different instruments before me and you graduated.
Yeah. Show off.
Hey, I love music, but like in the same night, I would transfer from playing trumpet to playing the snare drums, playing the quads, the bass drum, sometimes the piano, and then play bass as well. I remember one time I had to play bass during our halftime show. That was fun. Sitting there.
I'd love to play bass. God, any stringed instrument, I'd love to play at least a little bit. Like banjo, I'd love to get a little plucking on some
Banjo's a
banjo.
different breed.
Really?
Like if you can play banjo, you've got patience.
We got one right up there, but it's my dad's, and the strings are all torn up and the bow's broken and everything. But violin, banjo, bass guitar, electric guitar.
I mean, shoot, you got one sitting right over there.
I do, and I play it, you know, every now and then, especially when you come over.
Banjo's a different breed. Like you see all the time people playing it, and playing it with their fingers. Yeah, that's cool. But there's actually a correct way to play banjo.
Really?
The metal tips, you use one for your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger.
Uh-huh.
Whenever you pluck the strings with those metal tips, it allows the sound to resonate more.
Yeah.
That's why there's that drum head right there.
Okay.
Primo drum head on a banjo. But I mean, there's correct ways to play any instrument.
Of course. You can't just go to a guitar and string every string and get songs out of it.
Yeah. Unless you're a freaking master's son, you're not gonna pick up a guitar and just start shredding.
You gotta learn in some kind of pattern, you know. There's got to be some form of learning there, eventually.
What I said earlier, it's so easy to get into a box of playing.
Yeah.
Because whenever I pick up my guitar, I find I always do this little blues riff for some odd reason. I mean, it sounds phenomenal, but the more and more I play it, the more and more I get tired of it.
That's all I can. It's really weird because I play guitar, you know, and I enjoy playing the guitar. But then I play everything I know, and I'm bored of it.
Right.
You know, I got a short attention span with that kind of stuff. But if I got somebody over here, and we're sitting there and we're talking about a song, trying to play it, I could sit there for 3 hours doing that same small section, trying to learn it with my buddy there, you know?
Yeah.
It's just it's so freaking fun.
Another passion of mine is playing the drums. And a point that we made earlier, talking about you never realize what you do unless you're actually playing the instrument and playing with people. I found out I could do not a quarter note run, but like an eighth note run.
Okay.
It's like it's on the double bass, but I'm trying to figure out how to explain it because I can play music, but I can't explain it. It's like a quadruplet pattern, like
Yeah.
I learned how to do that playing double bass. It hadn't practiced, hadn't nothing. I tried keeping like a steady eighth note or cut time pattern on a double bass. Couldn't do it. But I gotta learn. I gotta apply myself. And also get a drum set because you can't play an instrument if you don't have it.
That would be one problem, Parker. Not having the instrument you're learning. I mean, when I first started learning stuff on the guitar, it was okay. So you get to these points where it's like super easy, you know.
Yeah.
For one string, you can stick on one string and learn stuff. and then you can go to 2 strings, and then 4 strings, and then all 5 strings. 6 strings. Yeah, I play guitar. And
Yeah, I play guitar, but what's a capo?
but then you've got holding all 5 strings at once, and then going to the next note and doing them in all different spots and a different hand gesture, and it just, to a point, it gets so overwhelming trying to learn specific songs, not for every song, just like higher tier songs.
Yeah.
And you go back and you practice smaller songs, but let's say you keep doing this, it'll eventually get to a point where you go to that harder song and it's like one of the other songs. You're like, oh, I know how to do this part.
Yeah.
I know how to do. You learn from
second nature.
Yeah, exactly. You learn from other songs. And it's a fun feeling doing that,
You also learn how to utilize different techniques playing guitar. Like, for instance, and this is another reason, why I don't claim Jimi Hendrix is one of the best guitarists. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jimi Hendrix was very good for his time. But, and yeah, people are like, well, he made all those songs but didn't know how to read music. I was like, Eric Clapton did the same thing.
You don't have to know how to read music.
But while I would classify Eric Clapton as a little bit better than Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton made songs not knowing how to read music, then actually learned how to read music.
Yeah.
But going back to Hendrix, he had a certain technique where he would wrap his thumb around to the low E string, allowing him to play open chords and triads and all that, which is the same style used by John Frusciante of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Really?
Which, by the way, if you haven't listened to their new album, Black Summer, I would suggest listening to it. Is it called Black Summer? I think it is.
I have no clue.
No, it's called Unlimited Love. Black Summer is one of the singles on that album. Listen to Unlimited Love by Red Hot Chili Peppers. You will not be disappointed.
I like some of Red Hot Chili Peppers music.
Some of their music is a little out there. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because music is an acquired taste.
Yeah. Music is meant to expand and go to different limitations,
Talk about Tool. Half their songs are polyrhythms and DMT.
DMT?
Psychoactive drug.
Oh.
DMT, LSD.
I like my drug music.
Right. Like my cocaine blues. I like my moonshine country. But
I like my speed rock.
I like my mushroom jazz.
Mushroom jazz. Man, that really caught us off guard. What were you?
Talking about how Jimi Hendrix, his technique kind of evolved into modern music.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of that, what do you think happens over the years? Do you think musicians kind of look at the computer and go, "Oh, this song did really good, and I did this, and this song did bad, but I did this," and they base kind of what they do off of the good songs, or do you think they stick to their heart? I just do whatever they want.
Well, some do it through their heart. Some people do it just because they have one technique that they can do really well.
Yeah.
Because I often wonder, do musicians actually listen to their own music? I mean, you have to, right, to be able to analyze what you're doing.
I feel bad for musicians.
Why?
Because let's say Katy Perry had a hit single come out this year, she has to sing that song 1,000 times. I mean 1,000 times. A whole bunch. And she doesn't get the experience of listening to somebody else sing it in the way she does. That makes it so popular.
Right.
So
it's like
it's
every
a
artist
beautiful
has their own way of producing.
Yeah, but it's like a beautiful mishap because they made the song, but they're not going to be able to enjoy the song like
Because
we
they
enjoy it
created
because
it.
they created it. Ain't that sad?
I also feel bad for music because I feel like music from here on out is just gonna either like skyrocket and keep doing really well, or we're gonna find a period of like decay in music and decay in the taste of music. Yeah, and it's like I feel like we're gonna have like I think it was one of like the Roaring '20s where music had just came to like a cease point. Everybody like started making their own little genres and stuff like where jazz started.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna have another one of those where music just kind of ceases to be made.
I think the 80s. I think the 80s and 90s were just downright the best years in history. You know, for music, for everything. I think it was just one of the best years.
'70s in that too because '70s had a lot of good songs.
Sure. Just that general area.
Don't stick to one genre of music.
Oh yeah. You gotta explore. There's no point in listening to music if you don't explore music.
Like harmonica, dude, I love the harmonica.
That's cool. That's cool.
But then again, it's like,
Isn't there that Johnny Cash song that does a whole bunch of harmonica in it?
I have no clue.
I'm probably thinking of a different song.
But harmonica is kind of like the same thing with slide guitar. Anybody can play harmonica, but it's hard to make harmonica sound good.
It really is. It really is. I can play Here Comes the Bride.
I can play Amazing Grace.
Real basic stuff.
Right?
Hey, but that's where you gotta start.
Right.
At Amazing Grace.
On a different, Amazing Grace on harmonica is amazing.
It is. It sounds fantastic.
Even on a regular key of C harmonica.
Bro, when I get married, I'm gonna have a band, and there's gonna be a freaking banjo, harmonica, and freaking what's the airbag with the Scotland bagpipes? Yeah, and they're gonna be.
Scotland.
It's gonna be that, and it's gonna be here. They're gonna be playing "Here Comes the Bride." I think that would run fantastic.
That would be amazing. Oh, I would love to see that.
No one would question it either. They'd be like, "Who are those guys without clothes on playing music?"
Glad to see the kilt is coming back. But going back to the topic of the guitars, I feel like those be the main four that kind of influenced most of music history. I mean, like I said, honorable mention, Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, not Robert Plant.
Robert Plant.
Robert Plant was the vocalist for Led Zeppelin. I'm thinking of what's his name?
I've been listening to so much AC/DC. Like,
Jimmy Page. That's what I'm thinking about.
yeah, I know who Jimmy Page is. But yeah, I've been listening to so much AC/DC in the past like 2 weeks. It's been phenomenal. I love it. What? Are you saying that my taste is moderate?
No. AC/DC, Five Finger Death Punch, and all the rest of it is dad rock.
Dad rock? Excuse me. It is good rock.
Yes, but it's when you get to the overplayed songs like Back in Black and Thunderstruck and Bad Company by Five Finger Death Punch and Wrong Side of Heaven, you start getting into the dad rock vibes.
Okay, fair, I guess.
In 2020 called Power Up.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Going in really well.
I have to listen to this. I have not heard of any of these newer albums.
Dude, Shot in the Dark off that album is phenomenal. And it's like some people even classify Metallica as dad rock, but I'd go on for hours talking about, the whole stuff that Metallica went through, losing their bass player and addiction going through the band.
I mean, that is wrong.
Yeah.
Live it high till you fall, right?
You're going to play music and go on tour. Be aware that you're going to be going into some stuff, seeing stuff that you might not ever think you'd ever see.
Definitely.
But going off of the topic of guitarists, and let's go on to the topic of the supernatural.
Oh, heck yeah. This is where I vibe, guys. Oh, let's start with like supernatural experiences. Like, so what's something that's happened to you? I'll start off with asking you the question. What's a supernatural experience that you have personally witnessed, had, or seen on, let's say, YouTube? In case you haven't had any.
The definition of supernatural, it's the manifestation or event attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature. Something that you don't see in everyday life.
Something you can't naturally explain.
Right. For me, I was seeing the ghost of my grandfather that's in the house that we live in.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a stand-up guy. Worked at the Air Force for years, working on radios. But he passed away in that house, and I'll still, I'll hear footsteps. He used to chew beech nut chewing tobacco. I'll smell beech nut from time to time, and I'll even smell it's like Old Spice, but with a dinge to the smell. And it's not. I know it's not me because I use Dove body wash.
Yeah.
Like I even smelled it like a strong Old Spice smell outside where my grandmother's great grandmother's trailer used to be.
Yeah.
Where it's now our carport. I've also seen or had a supernatural experience one time. I went to the old prison a couple of towns over. Went in what's known as the Sally Port, where they used to bring in inmates to be booked into the jail. I mean, obviously, it's been ransacked, run down.
Yeah, of course.
But me and my other buddies were down at like the lowest part of the jail. And I mean, you know me, I was trying to mess around with like little ghost apps and trying to get one of them little
reaction off of them.
Right. Use one of the little like what is it? It's not an EKG.
No, it's not EKG.
No, EKG is for heart monitoring.
I have no clue.
EMF. Like the electromagnetic field detectors. Like what people like actual paranormal ghost hunters use to talk to ghosts with.
Yeah.
Trying to use one of those BS ones on my phone. And I was like, if there's somebody with us, please let your presence be known. And then this is all I heard at the end of the hallway. And it just echoed throughout the entire hallway. I was just kind of like, not shaking, but I was like mortified.
Worse than shaking.
Right. Like I was in shock for a second, just kind of stood there.
But I wouldn't deal with that. I had this experience was I was really young, and it was over at our old house, and so we had our kitchen and our living room connected, but there was this kind of like halfway wall in the middle with glass, and like you could see through it, it was a really thin piece of glass. not it didn't take up the whole walkway, but it was just there, like a
Yeah.
pillar, but wide. And one day I woke up and I walked into the living room. Everybody was asleep. You couldn't hear a mouse. No one was awake. It was just in the morning, about 7 o'clock. Sun had just gotten to a good point. I'd walked in there, and I was looking around. I looked over at the TV in the corner, and then I look at the kitchen, and I just see this face, but I don't immediately recognize it. So I look back around at something else, and then it clicks. I saw a face in the reflection of that glass. So I looked back over. No. It was not my own face. I looked back over, and it was gone. But it was like this old lady's face, like deep socketed eyes, real baggy skin, kind of narrowed jaw. It was so creepy. Short hair.
It's like
I got freaked the frick out.
spiritual entities are nothing to mess with. Like, you don't know we as people don't know the powers of which they possess.
That's like a nuke dropping, and us being monkeys poking it with a stick.
Right.
Might press the wrong button eventually.
The spirits know whether you're there on good intentions or not. Whether you're trying to learn what it is they do, experience what they do, or whether you're there to mess with them. Because I've met people who've been marked by demons and marked by different spirits.
What about the Ouija board? What do you think about Ouija boards?
I would
You think they're
not.
crap?
Ouija boards, there's way too many guidelines you have to abide by whenever you use a Ouija board.
Yeah, they're really strict. I know you can't take your hands off of it without saying goodbye to the demon. Or spirit, I should say.
Yeah, you can't.
Something like that.
You can't end a little air quote seance without saying goodbye to the spirit.
I'd never do that. I've had plenty of opportunities, and I said, freak no.
And at the same time, you have the opportunity presented in front of you to ask the spirit questions.
Yeah.
But you don't need to provoke said spirit.
Do you think like you'll sit there and it will move by itself? Do you think that's how that works?
yeah.
I've never done it, and I never will do it.
I know people that have used Ouija boards. And it's all fun and games until you see smoke pop out your mouth.
What? I'll be out of that house. Gosh.
It's all fun and games until the lights shut off and you're nowhere near the light switch.
Lights shut off and Slenderman walks to the door.
Somebody that actually conducted an exorcism.
Yep.
God rest his soul, he's passed away now, but it was here locally. Some man had been possessed, and he was calling up everybody of the church that he knew that was most, I wouldn't say centered, but empowered in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
And he conducted a prayer circle and cast the demon out of that man.
Yep.
And it's the same guy that conducted that exorcism is the reason why I am who I am today. Because you can't show 1 ounce of fear. Not that fears can be measured in ounces, but you can't show any even little hint, right? You got to feel like you're more than that spirit.
You gotta know you're more than that
Right.
spirit.
And it was like I've heard that. I think it's another example that somebody I used to work with was telling me that one of his friends had gotten possessed and was running behind a car going about 30, 40 miles an hour and keeping up with that car.
What the fuck?
And everybody wants to talk about how let's go to a haunted building. Let's go mess with a Ouija board. No,
I'd love to go on a building. I'd be fine with that. I would, yeah.
you say that until the door shuts on you, and that's your only way out.
Well, the reason I say that is because with a Ouija board, you're like ripping a spirit out of its natural habitat into yours, you know. But if you go into that spirit's natural habitat, sure they'll be able to do all whatever they want, but you wouldn't be ripping it out of its habitat, you know.
You're not ripping it out of its habitat. You're kind of opening a hole in the fabric of
The door?
no. There's no fabric on a door.
No, like opening a door, just seeing what walks through.
No, it's more so you tear a hole in the fabric of the space of reality and the space of basically I would say the afterlife kind of. Yeah, because they say spirits are the people that they didn't find a resolution with something major in their life,
Yeah.
and that's why they're somewhat still trapped on this air quote mortal plane. But it's like there was a case of a man that went missing here locally. I was talking with somebody that was a medium, and the guy's son got involved and all, and he had asked the son had asked the medium, "Is my dad alive?" And you could see the tears, you could see the heartbreak in his eyes when she said no. And it's weird. See, mediums can also be classified as a supernatural.
What are you talking about?
Like one who can actively talk to spirits and see spirits. Because she was telling us, and notice how I haven't mentioned any names. She was telling us about how she saw the last moments of the man that went missing. And described that the pain she had felt while seeing what he saw was the exact thing that was going on with him before he went missing. Like she said, she felt dizzy and her left arm was hurting.
Yeah.
The same thing from stories of family members and all. That was how he acted shortly before he went missing. And with mediums, something traumatic in your life can also block you from seeing what spirits see. Like this one, in being brought up in the conversation, she was terrified of water because as a child she drowned, died, and was brought back to life. That's how she obtained this ability. Well, the man that had went missing, the last thing that he had seen was water, and that's where the vision that she was seeing had stopped because she herself was terrified of water. It's a mental thing. But she knew that.
So her brain just kind of like blocked the rest of it.
It just kind of
nope.
out.
Yeah. That's freaky.
And it's like there's actually conditions where spirits will pop up most, like dark rooms, cold places, and late hours of the night.
Thank God we don't have anything.
Right? But it's like the witching hour, I think, is 12 p.m.
It's 12 or 3.
Include the hour immediately after midnight and the time between 3 and 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It's the witching hour or devil hour, a time of night associated with supernatural events whereby witches, demons, and ghosts are thought to appear and be at their most powerful state. That's where these apparitions are most powerful.
Yeah. It's like where the veil between limbo and reality
exists or comes close to coinciding.
Yeah. That's freaking crazy though. When you were younger, do you ever think Bigfoot was real?
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever had dreams about Bigfoot?
No.
Dude, I had dreams for about 2 years, consecutive every single night. I'd have a dream about me walking in the woods, because I lived back in the woods, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I had this really long driveway. It was like a fourth of a mile long, super long driveway. And I had a dream every single night about being somewhere on our property, just walking. It could be in the safety of my own house, you know?
Yeah.
And I could just see Bigfoot out the window walking clear as day. And I just, you know, all shock, and I'd freeze up, and then all of a sudden he'd stop and look over at me and just start freaking bolting straight towards me.
And like the
Yeah, exactly. That is freaking exactly what it's like. And you talking about jumping out of your bed? Motherfricker, I hit the floor face first. Every single night for 2 years. Of course not every night, but you know, it was so constant. It happened so much that it still to this day does not happen. I had this last Bigfoot dream. I was probably 13, 14. Because that's when it happened, when I was like 12, 13. But I had the last and final one. And in the dream, I was in my backyard, and I just saw Bigfoot walking by. And like, he looked over at me, and he just started to charge at me. And I tried to run away, but I was like super slow. You know, like I couldn't move super slow.
It's like feels like you're running in your dreams, when in reality you're going very slow.
It feels like you're running in molasses.
Right.
You can't move, you know. And I just couldn't help myself. But I got so angry for no reason in this dream. I just turned around, watched Bigfoot run towards me, grabbed me, and I just screamed as hard as I could. And I mean like you ever gotten so angry where you scream and run out of breath, take another deep breath in and scream again? You're just that angry. I did that in my dream so loud, it woke me up. Because I was screaming in real life to like stop, to go away, to leave me alone. And I scared myself awake. And to this day, I've never had a Bigfoot dream again.
To me, it was zombies. I was deathly afraid of zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like coming home from my older brother's football games at night, I always get creeped out by the late hours of the night. I was like, is this when it's going to happen? Is this the night the zombie apocalypse starts?
Are they going to walk through the door now? My buddy, I'm not going to say any names because he probably watches this podcast. But my buddy, you know who you are. He's terrified of zombies. He's like 20. He's absolutely terrified of any zombie movie, any cartoon with zombies. He just cannot stand the idea of zombies. I think it's funny. I think it's real funny.
What gets me more is people that are afraid of clowns.
I don't get that. I'm not afraid of clowns.
I think that is absolutely hilarious.
We've never lived through the Chucky era of life, though.
Yeah.
Chucky and It, like the original It, not like, what was it, 2018 It? Was that it? Huh. Like, yeah. Like, my mom, she's terrified of It. Like, the new one and the old one, especially the new one, she freaked out.
Really hilarious.
Hilarious?
Yes, the old It was more funny than it was scary to me.
Really?
It was like, the old It was comedic. I remember there was a library scene. He's sitting on one of the top rafters.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
And, yeah, obviously, you know, he looks at Richie. He was like, "You do have Prince Albert in a can?" You do? Well, you better let the poor fella out. And just starts, going off on a tangent, using these little noisemakers, popping balloons and stuff. And I mean, nobody else can see it. So it's making Richie look absolutely just crazy, insane.
I'd love to watch a horror movie, like a proper horror, not like a oh no, we're running the wrong direction horror movie, but like a proper, like The Quiet Place. The Quiet Place was so good.
I've got to watch that. And to me, it's like half the time the scary movies we have now are just really cheesy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's a serial killer in the town that I'm staying at. Let me stay here until I can find out what actually happens. Like Michael Myers.
I want to be scared. I want to be scared to turn around. I want that kind of horror.
I want to be scared to like get off to the yes.
I want to be sitting there in my chair watching this movie, afraid to turn my eyes to the left or right and see if there's a monster in my vision. I want to be scared, very scared from a movie.
It's like, I consider myself to be like kind of like the above average style human, like higher IQ sense. Not saying that I'm, oh, you're smarter than me. But it's like I have a higher level of comedy as well. I wish I could like shut my mind off to where I can enjoy, lower level comedy.
I can see that. Same with horror though. It's like we're used to the horror. Like with Five Nights at Freddy's, I watched Five Nights at Freddy's all the time when I was a kid, and I got terrified. And then I got older, and then it wasn't scary anymore. I can play Five Nights at Freddy's without blinking. It does not scare me.
I can go to a theater and watch a scary movie and be like I wouldn't say nervous, but like a little scared on the ride home, like a little weary of the darkness.
I get that way slightly when I hear a really good story, really good, like Mr. Ballin. He's a dude on YouTube. He does nothing but tells spooky stories, like around the campfire stories. But the way he does it, I like it. It's real cool, and it's just scary. Like there's this one. It's talking about how there's this dude. All right.
Mm-hmm.
They live on a ranch, okay, but they've got planted pine out in their front yard all the way, and then there's their driveway that just cuts straight through it, and you cannot see the road. It's that much planted pine. But it happened that every single night, him and his wife would go on the porch and drink like warm tea, just drink, and they'll just sit there and chill. And this one night, they went on the porch and they thought they saw something in the woods, like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So the man went up, he got his gun and went to the woods, and his dogs just freaked the freak out. And one of his dogs just darted. And he was like, what the frick? So he started chasing after his dog. Finally, he got into the woods, and his dog was just barking at this tree. It was a really tall tree, like abnormally tall tree.
Yeah.
And the dog was just looking up in the tree, barking at like not like a arf arf, like a mange bark, like
ready to kill.
Exactly. And he was freaked the freak out, and he just saw claw marks on the bottom of the tree. But that could be explained by anything,
right?
So he goes back home, and for the rest of the night, they don't see anything. And then they see, like, the next night, they see the same thing again, something like just behind the tree line. And they're like, what the frick? And they just got the feeling that they were being stalked, like proper, like animal stalked. So the dad went, like, had his gun in his barn. So he was going into his barn. He unlocks the door. He gets in his barn. And the wife says she just sees this thing run all the way around behind the barn to where the dad was. And he didn't know. but he made his way out the barn, back around. His wife was freaking out. Get inside the house. We got it. There's a big animal stalking us. So they get inside the house, and they board up every window, or they close and lock every window, every door, and everything. And then they go to the upstairs bedroom, looking down on the field, and they just see this huge timber wolf looking animal on its hind legs walking like towards their house, and not really walking, but more like it would walk and then stand up kind of thing. Maybe take a step, fall, and walk, but it was massive. They said it was like 9 foot long. Tall, yeah, sorry, like 9 foot tall. And they said that it saw them, and there was a pack of them, and they'd rotate around the house, and you could hear them, and then it'd go dead silent, and then all of a sudden they just heard and it was them jumping onto the roof. The roof, all the way up to the roof. And they had scratch marks on their entire roof, and one of their bedrooms had been broken into, and there were scratch marks all over the bedroom, and it was creepy as crap.
Another thing we haven't brought to the light of the topic is skinwalkers.
Oh my!
Something that can possess more than one.
I have that one stock image.
It's like they can possess more than one image, I guess.
Yeah.
A ways of appearance. Could be an animal, could be a human, could be something we've never seen. It's like, and you always hear people like, "Oh, I'm gonna go hunt skinwalkers." Da 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 da. It's like, you're hunting something that you have no idea what it's capable of.
You're hunting something that's gonna hunt you. But yeah,
you're no longer the hunter; you're the hunted.
Oh, that's the image I'm talking about. That's the stock image that just comes to mind when we talk about skin. I don't know why. It just is. Skin rock. No, that's not what it is. Never mind.
It's like whenever you go hunt deer, you know what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Whether you hunt wolves or coyotes or foxes, you know what they're capable of. But with a skinwalker, you don't know the capabilities that it possesses.
Yeah. There's this TV show I used to watch. It's called Fact or Faked. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it was this group of people who would just pull videos together and like really specific information, like where it's recorded and all this stuff. And they'd be like, "What do you think about this one? You think it's real or not?" And the most intriguing, I think it was like 3 that they liked. It was like a group of 6 people. The most intriguing 3, they'd break up into pairs and go to the original filmed site and try to recreate it and prove it, fact or faked. And sometimes it was obviously faked,
right?
But sometimes it was so freaking creepy.
It's like it's hard to disprove.
Yeah, like there's this one episode. It was like a little kid, but it wasn't, and it was like wearing this kind of skirt type pants, and it looked like a pole. I'm gonna be honest. It looked like one of the poles outside my house. Mm-hmm. Big old head and legs, just 2 legs, and it was just wobbling, and it looked fake. It looked super fake, but real at the same time. It didn't look like an edited video, but it looked like eerie fake.
Right.
Like
it's
that's not possible.
There's no way this could ever happen.
Exactly, and it just some of those episodes just got under my skin and ripped it. I just
It's like the chupacabra, for example.
I had one on that too. I remember that one specifically.
There's been sightings of that because was like used to attack goats and livestock.
Yeah, right? Livestock mutilations. Where you know what chupacabra means in Spanish? It means goat sucker. And it'll suck the organs out of the goats. or out of the livestock and like leave it bone dry where it's just skin left, you know?
Some of them they would leave the animal whole, but like dead.
Yeah.
Like there was no ounce of its carcass mutilated.
Yeah.
It's just dead. But you look inside and they have no internal organs.
Yeah, no organs, yeah.
It's like, UFO sighting from, pilots and stuff.
Those are cool.
And like the whole Malaysian airline thing,
Yeah.
where the plane went down and
Nobody could find it, and
like the last message from the black box was in all in phonetic code. I can't remember it exactly, but it was like SOS. It isn't human or something like that. And yet they say they've triangulated the location of where it's at, but they still haven't found it.
yeah.
It's like, do you really want to take the chance that there was something otherworldly on that plane?
You think you've ever been visited by aliens? Or maybe, let's go with more vague. You think you've ever been visited by a unidentifiable creature?
I don't think I have. I don't have any.
Any times you've been sitting around a campfire and you just hear noise and you think, that's something not human.
I don't have any vivid memories of ever seeing or hearing anything not natural.
Yeah. Oh, there's this one time. Okay. Spoiler alert for this, but it was a deer. Well, there was this one time I was walking through the woods. Okay, I was walking to my granddad's house, so this one right here, and we were walking through the little path back there, and it's a good path. It's a good half-mile long.
Yeah.
I was walking it. It is not a kept good path. We mow the grass to it every year.
Right.
And I was walking, and I couldn't stand it because I was a big old wuss. I'm gonna be honest. I got about a quarter of the way through the path, and I just hear the shuffle in these leaves. I was like, okay, that's a small shuffle. That's nothing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I just hear freaking. I was like, whoa, whoa, and then I hear like it was running towards me, and then the stomping again, and I was just like, what the frick? And I just freaking literally huffed it back to my house, and I was like, what? And I was screaming. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm being chased by Bigfoot. I got home and it was like, Simon, you need to chill. It's a deer. They stomp their hooves to scare away predators.
Little kid, you was like, no, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way.
Exactly. I was like, no, there's a Bigfoot there. But no, it was just a deer.
Spirits, the unknown, and the supernatural is nothing to play with.
If it's all real, I completely agree. Not saying I necessarily believe in it, but there's definitely things out there that make me question that crap.
It makes me question what's not natural in this plane of reality.
Like, there was this video. There was a story of these guys. It was like in the 1960s or something like this. And they went into the woods and they were going fishing and everything. They had this old cabin set up. And nothing bad happened. They just found a dead deer. But it was like completely ripped to pieces. But that could be normal. Animals like to eat dead things, rip it to pieces.
Carnivores.
Exactly. So they didn't think much of it. But it started hitting nighttime, and and they were just like, okay, it's about time we start heading back to the cabin. Thank you. So they start walking back to the cabin, and this is just a video I heard online. But it was creepy the way the guy told me. The guy said it, and so they head back to their cabin, and then this one dude remembered he's forgotten the water bucket. So he went ahead and ran back to the lake, to the river with his buddy, and all of a sudden they just hear rocks being thrown at them. And it was kind of dark, like twilight. Like you couldn't see that far, but you could see. And they just saw rocks, like golf ball sized rocks being thrown at them. And they were like, "Well, what the frick? Who's throwing rocks at us?" So they like start walking towards whoever's throwing these rocks, and they just hear a grunt. And they're like, "Well, what the frick?" So they're like, "What would be throwing rocks at us and grunting like an animal?" So they kind of back up and start, scooting around to their cabin in the woods.
Yeah, that'd be at the point, like, it's hit the fan. I'm not about to find out.
Here's the fun thing. They get to their cabin, and they lock the doors. Okay, it's got one window. This whole cabin's got one window. There's 4 people in this cabin, and they're like, "Dudes, something's out there. It's throwing rocks at us." And as soon as that dude said that, they hear a boom. Something had just thrown a rock at the building. And it wasn't a golf ball sized rock this time. It was like a football sized rock. Because it had broken through a piece of the wall. They started freaking the frick out. All 4 of them. They got their guns, and they just freaking bunkered the frick down. Later on, this motherfricker looks out this window. It's about midnight. It had all stopped till about midnight. All right, he's like, "Okay, it's been a while. We should be safe." So he looks out the window, okay, and it's fine, perfectly fine. He opens the window to peek his head around, because it's like one of the pull open windows.
Yeah.
And so he opens the window and looks out of it. He looks to his right, and there's nothing. He looks to his left, and there's a freaking hand holding on to the side of the building on the top of the building. And he just doesn't know what to do.
How big of a hand?
It was like, it was bigger than a normal person's hand. He said it was very large, brown, and hairy. Like, normal Bigfoot crap.
Right.
But it was reaching up really high, like higher than a person could reach. Because, I forgot to say, but he's on a bunk bed. And this window's higher than, So he's like, "What the frick?" So he closes the door and tells his buddies, like, "There's something outside this building right now." And so they're freaked out again, So they take this pan, this pot, and try to scare it away. They're like, "Frick this," and they start banging this pan. And then they hear I don't want to say a rampage, but they hear like this what's it called when a whole bunch of animals start moving at once? Like a
herd, kind of?
A herd, yeah. They hear like a herd of stomping through the woods, of limbs breaking and everything, just circling the entire building. And they're like, "What the?" They're like, "Okay, we got to get out of here. This isn't safe." So they try to sleep out the rest of the night because they can't go anywhere. They had walked to their campsite, and they just constantly for the rest of the night hear a whole bunch of footsteps and thudding and rocks being thrown at them until daybreak.
I wouldn't be getting no sleep. I mean, I ain't meant to go out and antagonize whatever's out there, but the fear that something is, or knowing something's surrounding me and observing me and what I'm doing, I'm not sleeping.
Especially when you don't know what it is.
I want to be prepared in case something happens.
Yeah. I love Bigfoot stories, though. They're so freaking creepy. I think Bigfoot stories are more creepy than actual ghost encounters. You know, it's freaking weird.
Pretty good cast.
I think we have too. Gone on for a good hour and 12 minutes, at least.
Before we end this, I want to give you something to think about till next week's podcast. We eat pizza from the inside out. Think about that. Marinate on that. Well, I guess that concludes this cast. We will be going through some schedule changes, so be wary for updates on the schedule of the Casually Conducting podcast. We'll be posting updates and letting everybody know.
Our newly made Discord. I'll be leaving a link in the description. You can go check that out.
Leave us some suggestions, leave us some questions.
Come talk
topics
with us. Play games with us. We're losers like that. But yeah. Well, thank you everybody for showing up.
Thank you guys, and we will see you guys next week.